The first phase of a deal was signed by Israel and Hamas earlier today in Egypt. Israel's security cabinet is meeting at the moment, or was expected to stop meeting a little while ago, and then a broader cabinet meeting was expected to start. And an Israeli government spokeswoman said recently that a ceasefire in Gaza will begin within 24 hours of Israeli cabinet approval. Most of what I'm reading suggests that that cabinet approval won't be unanimous, but it will be achieved. So then there will be a ceasefire. And also, within 72 hours, Hamas releasing Israeli hostages, both the living and the dead, Israeli releasing hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, Israeli troops beginning to withdraw from parts of Gaza, and hundreds of trucks of aid a day entering Gaza. International relations analyst James Ker Lindsay is with us now via Zoom. James, good afternoon. Is there something different about this that suggests better prospects than previous attempts in the last 2 years have led to?
Good afternoon, John. Yes, I think there is. I think that this is something that quite clearly a huge amount of pressure has been brought to bear on both sides. It was very clear that just a few weeks ago, the Netanyahu government was very certain that this wasn't going to stop. I think the general international view was that they were going to continue, come what may. To completely level Gaza, frankly, was the general view. And yet here we now have certainly Netanyahu's signed up to this. As you noted, we have yet to get that final approval from the Israeli cabinet. But I think he will have been delivering the message that if Israel were to reject this bid, which Trump has obviously personally taken very, a high degree of responsibility for, the consequences could be dire. We don't know what that is. There was a report a couple of days ago saying that Trump had told Netanyahu in no uncertain terms not to be so negative and to take the win. And at the same time, of course, we've got Hamas. This imposes some fairly stringent terms on Hamas. For example, it tells them they have no future in Gaza. It will have taken a lot of pressure to get Hamas to sign up to this, but they have. And so I think, obviously there is a very long way to go. We will have spoilers on both sides, but something clearly has happened here, which would seem to indicate that, there is a very real intent in what we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah, and the next 72 hours might well proceed as planned. The hostages will return home, and we hope that they are not released in the unsavory circumstances under which the most recent hostage release happened. Prisoners who've been in Israeli jails for a while after having been through the Israeli justice system released, many hundreds more Gazans who've been detained in the 2 years of the latest conflict also released. The aid trucks, does seem as if they will, because everybody, I've been looking at statements from the UN, RWA, WHO, UK Med, Save the Children. They're all saying they've got stuff, they're ready to go, they've got food, they've got medicines, they've got what they need for at least 3 months. Israeli troops draw back. We don't know how far, but then what? Hamas,
Well, that is
Hamas, what's in it for Hamas? If Hamas disarms and has no role to play in this independent, technocratic Palestinian committee that is going to take charge of Gaza for the foreseeable future, what's in it for Hamas to abide by the conditions? Perhaps the pressure from Iran and countries that have been supportive of Hamas. Maybe they're under the same sort of pressure that Netanyahu is under from Trump.
Well, I think, there are a number of questions there. And I think, first and foremost is this question of Hamas. I think that they will have faced enormous pressure from across the board, not just the Americans, which they would see as opponents, but even from many allies. Hamas has not only relied on support from Iran, but there have been certain Arab states which have also been rather sympathetic to it, not least of all Qatar. We saw that recent bombing of Qatar by Israel precisely because Hamas has a political headquarters in Qatar. I think that the Qatari government would have been very clear to it that they have to sign up. It will provide sanctuary for leaders if they leave. But the alternative is that Israel will go ahead and flatten what remains of Gaza, and that will be on Hamas's shoulders. So I think there would have been a huge, huge amount of pressure brought to bear on the organization. But of course, then the bigger question is if Hamas do vacate Gaza, then who is going to take over? Now, we know that this peace plan talks about an international administration, but it's been extremely light on detail. And that administration will have to get working from from day one, and it will be an enormous task to rebuild Gaza. The amount of death, destruction, you've got basic public services that are going to need to be restored. And as you point out, there is a huge shortage of food there. So this is going to be a monumental task that's going to have to be undertaken, and it's going to have to be undertaken very, very quickly. But of course, it's not just that immediate steps that need to be taken. It's the medium, the long term. It's questions of reconciliation, reconstruction. It is going to be a very, very long term process.
But with understandable questions and doubts and cautions about the medium and the long term, the short term looks brighter for citizens of Israel and for the Palestinian people of Gaza than it has looked for at least 2 years. Is that fair
At
to
the
say?
moment, yes. I mean, it certainly seems that way. It quite clearly has been a huge, huge effort by the United States to try and get this through. I know that, obviously there's all sorts of questioning about Trump's motives for this. By the way, for anyone wondering, yes, it is Nobel Peace Prize award day tomorrow, but it seems highly unlikely that he will have won, even with this effort, for all sorts of reasons. But I think a lot of people do recognise, and I would also be in that camp to say that for all the terrible things that Trump has done in so many ways, the fact that he seems to be spurred to try and win the award means that, at least in this case, he might have actually achieved something good. Now, obviously, there is a very long way to go. We need to see a lot more detail. But the fact that he might have brought this horrific war to a close, and and I think crucially is the big question, laid the foundations for a real Palestinian state, is going to be absolutely fascinating to see. And that obviously is going to be the big question that everyone's looking at now. But I think for all sorts of reasons, that's probably something that we'll be looking a few years down the road. But certainly in the meantime, the fact that fighting stops, that aid can get in, is going to be an enormous step forward. And I think a lot of credit will go to the Trump administration, as much as it pains a lot of us to have to say that.
James Ker Lindsay, international relations expert, thank you for your time.